I think I was the one who actually thought of the idea. So the local bagel factory cafe closed on Lincoln Street in Birmingham, near the ice rink. And I was like, well, how are we going to get the bagels now? Like, what are we going to do? So I was, there's a bagel factory in Southfield. I was like, well, maybe we can deliver to people. And so we started out with like 6 customers, and then we exponentially grew. We're at like 180 this past week. So
that's a lot of customers.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So you go from 6 to 180. That's a lot of work. So how do you? What's the week like for you guys?
The week, so Monday through, I'd say Wednesday, we don't receive a lot of orders. I'd say on Thursday, we have like a reminder email saying like, don't forget to order. And then we receive, I'd say about 100 orders Thursday, and like 150 Thursday and Friday, and then about Thursday, or then about 30 on Saturday mornings, and then we work a lot on Saturday because a lot of what we do can't be done before we have every single order in. And then on Sunday mornings we have all the deliveries made before 11-12 o'clock.
I love it. Randy, you got a question? I got some more, but you look delayed.
Yeah, no, there's a bit of a delay. I don't know what's happening. So what I read was after the bagel factory closed in Birmingham, and this sort of goes back to necessity is the mother of invention, right? You needed a place, and you had people that wanted that service and that wanted their Sunday morning bagels. So what inspired you to pick that food out of all the other options that were available? Why bagels, other than the obvious?
So every Sunday morning, we always got bagels every Sunday morning. And when it closed, we didn't know what to do. So we figured that other people in our area were feeling the same way, since everyone likes bagels. So we just came up with the idea of delivering to everyone.
I love it. So, fellas, I have a couple questions for you now. Now, jumping into congratulations on the growth of your business, the way that you've gone from 6 to 180 people. That's unbelievable. You should be really proud of yourselves. We are proud of you. But now I want to talk a little business. So I'm a big believer that everybody should have at least 3 mentors in their life. Who are some of your mentors, and who has been giving you some guidance and advice as you've been building this business?
Definitely our parents. We wouldn't be anywhere close to where we are right now without our parents. So, for example, my dad had a relationship with the guy who owns the bagel factory in Southfield. So he kind of hooked us up together, and that was kind of like the first thing that set us going. And both of Jonathan's parents too, they've just been great helping us learn along the way. When we make mistakes, they help us learn from them rather than like dwell on them. So those are probably the main 4 mentors that we've had.
Yeah, right. My mom has a small neuropsychology center, and I look at the growth that I've seen, and my dad works at Penske, and I look at their success and kind of try to take in as much as I can from what they do to keep me determined and keep me inspired.
Yeah. When you're talking about being inspired, you guys, what you're doing is pretty inspiring to other people. I think a lot of people, especially your age, with COVID going on right now, there's not a lot of homework that necessarily needs to get done, where you could actually have the bagels just delivered instead of starting a company. And so what was the spark that inspired you to really hustle, get on this, and start a business? Because I think people listening, whether you're 13, 16, 30, 40, 50, etc., everybody can grow from it.
Mason, go ahead.
Oh, so I think that since we have so much time during these times, like we have so much time to get the work done and to find new ideas to grow that we wouldn't have this time if it was normal times. So, for instance, like I would have me and Ethan would have baseball tournaments almost every weekend. We wouldn't even be able to deliver. But since that we have so much time, we have nothing during the weekends, we can work countless hours during the day.
I love it.
So what do you find yourselves in terms of fielding questions from your friends and peers? What's the most often asked question for you from you guys? I'm sure you're getting a lot of advice also.
Yeah. The most often asked question I get is, "Are you guys? Don't you do that bagel delivery business?" And I'm like, yeah, I do actually. So, people, I don't know, people don't really ask for advice, but I don't know. It's just kind of cool having people ask that, like, my friends too, who like don't know a ton about it, and then they're like, "Don't you do that bagel delivery business?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm sure Mason and Jonathan experienced that same thing.
Oh yeah, and also I received the question like why bagels, right? I mean it's a food that's just never really looked at as necessary, you know.
Yeah, and also I get the question a lot, like, don't you just deliver? Like, how hard can it be? But people don't understand that we like work all week, all weekend. Like people think we just go to the bagel factory, pick up the bagels, and just drop them off at houses.
Yeah, that's not how it works at all. Like, for example, Saturdays, started, I don't know, probably 2 weeks ago, and from then working our way back, we were working like 12 hours, 16 hours. One Saturday was actually like 16 hours. So it's depending on, if we make manual mistakes and we got to backtrack and figure that out. They're really long days, and then waking up Sunday morning at 5:45 so we can get to the bagel factory and set up. It's rough, but we do it because we love it.
Fellas, I have a question for you. That's great. That requires a lot of discipline, and I talked to you, Ethan, for a little bit on how many hours you guys are working. So kudos to you. I'm a big believer that school is important, but I also think school doesn't necessarily teach you how to run a business, right? It doesn't teach you the day-to-day stuff. And so what are you learning? Like if you were to teach a class, what would your class consist of things that you haven't necessarily learned in school that you just learned by being in the trenches of starting and growing your own business?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is experience-based lessons, right? Like an unhappy customer, a order mistake, something that it's just. I had a class at Seahome, not business and marketing, sales and advertising, and I learned a lot, right? And I could apply a lot of it to what I'm learning with this company, but there's so much that you wouldn't expect that just kind of surprises you, right? There's a customer service aspect. There's changes that you have to make, right? Like you see a problem and you solve it. That's right. There's a small need. Like we want locks, right? We have vegetable boxes and fruit boxes that we offer now. It's a lot of coming up with ideas on how to improve what we currently offer.
And Jonathan, that doesn't change as you get older. We're constantly pivoting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you have to answer that question that may not have ever been asked, or a question you may not have ever dealt with, and use your sort of that gut instinct to come up with the right answer. And that's drawn from experience. And you guys are getting a lot of experience hand-on that, quite honestly, a lot of people won't get. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to solve questions quickly, and you're going to be able to take this, throughout the years. You're going to be doing a lot of great things. But this is the importance. This is sort of what, and again, I'm a little older than you guys. You start with the newspaper delivery service. You guys are probably too young to remember that. But, you think about your grandfathers and fathers. We grew up with newspaper delivery services. You're going out there, and all you had to do was you were tasked with dropping a newspaper on somebody's driveway. But every now and then, you have to interface with that customer. You have to talk to them. You know, the question that I have now is talking, communicating. That's taken a life of its own now, right? With text messages, social media, whether it's FaceTime, Instagram, whatever it might be. What medium are you guys using to communicate what you do most effectively, and what do you find that works?
So sometimes we call people. We just started using Ring Central, which is a call text message platform that goes to one number. So we have a company number, and we call people a lot. We text people a lot, and sometimes when we deliver the bagels, we see the people, and they say thank you so much, and whatever. And there's just a lot of communication that we're not used to, being in our era, being texting, all that. We're not used to it. And most of our customers are not as young as we are, or maybe not even as young as our parents are. And they're much better communicators than us, and they're used to talking in real person, and we're just used to texting. But we definitely learned, how to communicate better.
I think there's also another aspect to that, not even just talking to the customer, but talking amongst us three. Like at the beginning, our communication sucked. I'm just going to say it was terrible. There would be mistakes that shouldn't have been made because one of us or two of us or all of us wouldn't communicate. And we've learned that even if it might be whatever, like it doesn't matter, or I don't think I'm going to say this, just say it, because it will matter. It could matter. And it could prevent a big mistake from happening.
Yeah, that's good. That's great advice for everybody to hear. I would say a lot of the companies that I'm working with, the biggest issues come with the lack of internal effective communication, and holding things back. And if your intent is clean, then really you can say anything to anybody. So those are great lessons. What about you, Jonathan?
Well, the communication aspect also comes with, since a lot of our customers are older people, right? Since we changed this week from PayPal and Venmo payments to PayPal or inserting their credit card directly. But since we had a lot of older customers, we needed to oftentimes run them through the payment process, since what we use is a relatively new software that is recent within this decade.
Yeah, it's good. Hey Noah, do you have any questions for these guys?
Yes.
Bring it.
Do you have anyone else who has to join you?
Speak a little clearly.
Do you have anyone else who has to join you?
Like any employees?
Sorry, guys, screen is frozen.
That's a good question. Do you have anybody else that that you have to hire to help you? Especially, I would say, just add on to that, Noah, going from 6 to 180 customers. I would think you got to learn the art of delegating and helping and asking, for help. So how does that work?
Well,
So last week the first couple weeks we had like 6 orders, 12 orders, whatever, and we had just us three, and we were doing all the work during the week, and we were driving. All three of us were driving. Obviously, I can't drive, but I would go in one of their cars. We'd have 2 cars total, to get like 12 houses done. It's really not that difficult. But as we started growing, we started having to hire more and more drivers, to a point where last week I think we had 11 or 12 drivers.
Wow.
And they're all kids that we know. With the internal work, we went from doing everything manually to kind of making a switch to having the most time-consuming things, excluding customer service, done automatically. So we had a switch between, we might need to hire more kids to do the internal work to why don't we just make a down payment one time and make this all automatic. But drivers, we have a continuously increasing number of drivers that we have contact with, right, for every week, because we can't promise, or we can't have kids promise that they'll commit from every Sunday on, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you guys a question. Noah, did that answer your question? You have another question?
They're formulating. He's formulating a question.
All right, good. I have a question for you. You know, when I was growing up, I'm 48, and when I was growing up, my parents, my dad specifically, always used to say, Jonathan, you can always learn something from somebody older or younger than you. So as I listen to you guys, I'm learning, I'm growing. I think what you guys are doing is great. But I also remember being your age, and taking feedback from adults wasn't always the easiest. So how do you take feedback from adults where it's where you're still not losing kind of your own thing that you think is the right path?
Ethan?
So I think that we a lot of the time are kind of set in our ways, and getting us to open up sometimes isn't easy, but it's a lot of the time we don't actually know what we're talking about, and our parents have made, for example, we've made a BCC mistake in an email. We've dealing with money. Sometimes we haven't made a mistake, but we have to make sure we're on point with that stuff. We don't realize this stuff, and we think we know everything, but we don't. We really don't. Our parents know a lot more than we do, and listening to them has made such a huge difference.
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and I want to hear Mason and you, Jonathan, what your thought is on that. I'm a big believer that if you're not making mistakes, you're not working hard enough. Mistakes is how you learn that's how you learn the business. Just real quickly before we kind of go to Mason and Jonathan, because I love your thoughts on that, because Ethan, I appreciate your input. Any wisdom on that, Randy?
Yeah. Well, it's I'm a year older than Jonathan, and I can tell you we're always learning, and you're never going to have all of the answers. But one thing, in order to grow, you also have to be willing to grow.
Yeah.
You can't be so set in, and this is by no means, this is just a general statement. We can't be set in our ways. We have to be open to suggestions. Like, for example, right now it's the three of you. Two of you are brothers, and then you have a close friend in Jonathan. As a lawyer, I'm going to ask you a legal question. Do you guys have a partnership agreement that you've ever formulated, or have an email where you guys all agree to whose roles and responsibilities and what you're each entitled to? So yes, tell me about it, Ethan.
So
like you drafted it.
Say it again.
It sounds like you wrote it.
So we don't have anything in writing. It's a verbal agreement, and we haven't had any issues with it. Me and Jonathan are best friends. Mason's my little brother, so we're all pretty close. But it is important to have an agreement, which we do. And I'm not going to say that because that's kind of private. Yeah, so we do have an agreement, and with jobs, we're very, it's open to change. So this week I'm making sure all the orders look good. I'm going to put all the houses in the route maker. I'm going to make sure the fruit box, there's so much that goes into that. Yeah. And then I'm gonna make sure we have our stickers that go on the bagel bag, the brown bag, the cream cheese bag, and we just divide and conquer. So Jonathan's on customer service this week. Mason's on downloading orders. So in this all rotates every few weeks, depending on we could change our order form, and that saves Mason time. So then Mason needs something to do. So then Mason might take some of my job, or he might take some of the customer service job. So it really switches around a lot.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of my favorite sayings is seek first to understand before being understood, and that's, I think, just always a good way when it comes to, like you're talking about, all of you, about communicating and about taking feedback and hearing other people's thoughts and their lenses. Mason, how about you? Jonathan, how about you? Any thoughts on how you personally grow as an individual and in the business with feedback?
Well, with feedback, it's hard to find the balance between having our parents who often offer feedback as of, well, because they're the real viewers, right? They see everything inside and out. There's a fine line between having them give us just the right amount of feedback where it's still our company, and having them offer too much feedback where it kind of feels like it's not necessarily our company anymore. So I think that finding that line where we maintain our dignity and the fact that it's still our company, but being able to receive feedback when we need it, but still wanting to have times where we sit down, just us three, and we problem solve these major issues.
Yeah, it's great. There is. It's one of the ways I put it is, how quickly can you get back to center? Because sometimes feedback isn't always great to hear. Sometimes even if it's right, it can rattle you, and just getting back to center, because it's your guys' company and you guys know ultimately what's best. So and these are, it's funny because you're young, right? I'm calling you kids, but you're young adults. Mason, I guess, you're still a kid, but you're doing a business, so it throws you into the adult world. And when you're I think people just want to help you and give you a lot of advice, but you got to know, what advice to take. Mason, how about you?
Well, going on what you just said, I feel like being young, people might see it as a disadvantage, but I see it, and I'm sure Ethan and JP do too, that I see it as an advantage because, so let's say a 30 or 40-year-old person is running this company, same company. They don't know, or they probably don't know how to work. Like right now we have an Instagram account. They do not know, they probably don't know what Instagram is. So we have the advantage of being, we're growing up with a bunch of technology growing, and I think that we just know a bunch of tricks that some adults might not even know.
Right. Well, a couple of things. I agree with you completely. That's an advantage of being young. But me as a 48-year-old, I just want to say for the record, I do have an Instagram account. I do know how to use Instagram.
I have a quick comment on what Mason said. That as kids, right? We tried to run this as we are adults, right? But in reality, we're kids with a small company, and that kind of gives us not only like a small safety net, but the fact that this isn't our livelihood, right? I live in my parents' house. I have high school and college to go. This is kind of like a trial for what could come to me as I grow into an adult that wants to go into business, right? So this is in a way, this is like a trial, right? Where I get to see what works, so I have an advantage as I grow into an adult.
You guys are working hard. You're learning things, in my opinion, you can never learn at school. It requires so much discipline, so much resilience, so much pivoting and learning in the moment in real time. I think it's amazing what you guys are, what you have built and what you continue to do.
Yeah, Noah has a question.
Yeah, Noah.
What happens to the business when you guys go to college?
Oh, that's a good question.
So we've actually thought about this. So we're thinking that Ethan and Jonathan are 2 years older or 3 years older than me. So they are sophomores, and I'm in 7th grade. So they're 3 grades. They're three grades over. So when they go to college, they're not gonna be able to run the company. So we're thinking that they're gonna pass it down to me, and I'm going to start it with some of my friends, or continue with some of my friends.
Mhm.
Noah, any more questions? You're asking some good questions, Noah. Maybe they'll sell it. Maybe Mason will bring you on.
Well, I love the charitable component, guys. That's meaningful because me and Jonathan, we interviewed a wonderful nurse several weeks ago.
I just listened to that one.
Yeah, and that one was really impactful for all of us. But to see your guys' commitment to share some of your profits with some charitable organizations, and it's going to grow. That says a lot about who you guys are and what the business and profits mean to you. Yeah, I wish more businesses did that, but kudos to you guys for doing that.
Well, Mason, and to your point, social action. I interviewed Donnie Immerman yesterday, who started Immerman Angels, Close Talk. He's got these amazing companies, and one of the things he was talking about, which I agree, is companies today have to have a social action element to them. And Mason, to your point earlier about older people not necessarily knowing about Instagram. I think their old school thinking is they're not thinking social action, and they're not thinking that they need to have a social mission attached to their company. So it is your guys' generation that is fueling that, because it's just the intent is so pure and it's infectious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Randy, any last questions for these fellas?
I'm going to become a customer, so you'll get an order from me. Not on Instagram, though, guys. I'm going to go the old-fashioned route. I'll probably send an email. So, I miss my Sunday morning bagels, but, a lot of people, especially with the stay-at-home, can't go out, and a lot of places are closed. So you're bringing smiles to a lot of doorsteps, I'm sure. Especially, the bagel's still warm in the bag when they get there?
Sometimes, if you're lucky.
One other thing, I don't know how clear this was, but we also do deliver fresh fruit and fresh vegetable boxes.
Mason, Ethan, go into more detail about what you do, what you sell, when the orders need to be done, who your clients are, area to cover, all that.
Yeah, so we start taking orders for let's say for this upcoming Sunday. We started taking orders this past Sunday at 8 a.m. So people can place orders all throughout the week, and then we close the order form at 1 p.m. on Saturday. So at that point, we process all the orders, do all that good stuff, all that hard work, and then so what people can order, they can order lox, they can order quarter pound, half pound, pound, 2 pound, whatever, however much they want. They can order bagels. They can order half dozen, baker's dozen, 13 bagels, dozen and a half, that's 18 bagels, 2 baker's dozens, 3 baker's dozens, two however many they want. Then we also offer cream cheese, 3-ounce container and a 8-ounce container. And they're like 10 flavors of cream cheese. They're 26 flavors of bagels. So we have a great variety. And then we also offer the fruit and veggie boxes. Those are great. We partnered with Leonardo's Produce. Some of you guys watching, you might know them from the farmers market, or not the farmers market, the
Easter market.
The Easter market. That's it. Yeah, they're pretty big there. I think that's pretty much about it. What we sell now.
Good.
Well, I know Jonathan's question is, do you have organic offerings?
So
I do have another question. My question to you guys is, what is the number one thing that you've learned about yourselves thus far, starting your own company?
Oh, that's a really good question. One thing that I've learned about myself is that it really takes determination, perseverance, and you need to be able to capitalize on the offers you receive. That includes a podcast or a newspaper article. It's just we need to learn to capitalize on those things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned is that it never hurts to have a second opinion. So you're writing a big email, it never hurts to have someone read over it, and it's never bad to have criticism. So, criticism, some people look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as correction, just to help me learn better. So I think that's the biggest thing I've learned.
Right.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned definitely is communication. I think at the beginning of all of this, like I said, our communication was terrible. We did not know how to communicate with customers and amongst ourselves, with our parents when they asked us questions. But now I think all three of us have learned how to communicate better, and there's still room to grow.
I love it. I'm gonna give you guys a recommendation, and then my 2 cents on something. I really believe, I said this earlier, you cannot learn. I could give you every book suggestion in the world, and it can't teach you what hands-on experience teaches you. So congratulations on all your success. But I'm going to also recommend that you document the journey, meaning you may be able to write a book, speak. There's a lot that you're going to do. And because your life goes so fast, you think you're not going to forget a lot of this stuff right now, but you will forget the essence of it, a lot of it. So carve out some time, document it, whether you write it as bullet points or scratch paper, but document the journey, and 10, 20 years from now, you'll look back and you'll be able to do something with it, if not sooner, and you'll be glad that you documented, because you won't remember a lot of it. But
the Apple iPhone will for them.
Yeah. I mean, you can record it really easily today. But I'm going to let Randy close. But I wish you guys, I can't thank you guys enough for being on the show. I know you guys are busy with your lives and this business. Congratulations on all your success. Continue to sell a ton of bagels and a ton of schmear and lox. Randy?
Well, listen, guys, I mean, you've inspired me. And today's my son's first show. He's 11 years old. He just turned 11 a few days ago. So,
happy birthday, Noah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So my hope is, the takeaway here is you inspire a lot of young budding entrepreneurs, because the service you guys are offering is, something that we all need. It's something that's going to put a lot of smiles on people's faces, and you're learning a lot on this journey. Obviously, it goes without saying, I know you guys have a lot of mentors in your world, but if you need anything from me or Uncle John, feel free to call on us. We're happy to. And again, I will be a customer.
Yeah, you can call me, guys, fellas. You can call me anytime. Anytime you have a question. All right, guys. Anything in closing? I'll let you guys close. Anything?
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity, and we can't give enough thanks for this.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I have one thing to say.
Yeah.
For all the kids our age out there watching, younger, whatever age you are, if you believe in something and you truly believe in it and you want to work for it, go for it. But if you have an idea and you don't really care about it, don't waste your time. You gotta really, really want it. You gotta want to grind. You gotta go at it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a drop mic, not only for everybody, every age, every business person out there. So let's end on that. Fellas, you are awesome. Congratulations and continued great success. Call me anytime.
Thanks for having us.
You well.
Noah, thanks for being the special guest. You are also great. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.